right. Welcome to the Lockdown Podcast. We are back to full strength with all three of us to pontificate and guess and chat about Raw, SmackDown. We're obviously a week and change away from the Netflix launch of Raw on Netflix. There is a only a handful of really things verified at the moment. Obviously, we're going to get more tomorrow. We're going to get more Friday, and obviously, we'll kind of see how it goes. We're going to do a live stream of it just so we can get our own reactions, as it comes. So Raw and SmackDown. I mean, I like my tag says below me, very mid. Um, and I'm not really in shock and awe of how Raw and SmackDown are going. They seem to be following the same recipes for the last like month. Um, I mean, how do you guys feel about it? I mean, just like, is it really that like great, or do you think it's leading into something greater?
Me personally, I think it's blah.
Mm, yeah, I think this lull in like excitement and drama um hasn't been hasn't lived up to previous, Raw and SmackDowns throughout the year. Maybe it's just that, we're just coasting till we get to Netflix, or maybe it's like the holiday season, we're just going to slow it down. People aren't going to be as engaged. I mean, there's so many different reasons why it is. It can just be the nature of the stories, but it does feel less like a quality show, and that just could be the ebb and flow of it. I mean, every week can't be a stellar week. I mean, we've got
Well,
to
and
have
these are all
these we got to have
and
these periods that are just low. Um but
well,
yeah, I
they're all dual tapings too. Like, I mean, so I feel like they're not gonna jam pack them as much. And I think honestly, with the Netflix launch, I feel like we're gonna be getting our last Raw and SmackDown. I mean, well, of the year essentially. Um, so I'm thinking they're gonna if they don't knock it out of the park, I'd be very surprised. I think given that they've given us these lulls, these kind of blah kind of episodes, I feel like it's gonna make what happens on January 6th for the Netflix launch of Raw is it's gonna blow our mind. We're gonna get a different flow, I think. And again, we're only in the beginning stages of the Triple H era, so like I don't think and things that can happen are you know, it's things are going to be different. Like let's just put it like that. And so with this new era, especially being on Netflix, that's like Triple H's baby essentially, right? Because Vinnie Mac never did anything like that. So like we're just in a different time, and I think we're going to get things a lot different moving forward. I think especially the turn of the year. I feel like Triple H kind of had that glistening, the beginning of this year, but I feel like he's going to hit his stride in 2025. And I think whether we get, I mean, there's been so much chatter of yes and no to 3 hour episodes of Raw and SmackDown. Um, Nothing's really confirmed until we get it, essentially. So I
right.
mean, I don't like because everybody's like theorizing about it, like oh, it's gonna go to this, I mean, there's so much chatter of having, some of the four core PLEs, they want to push them all to 2 nights. I mean, but these are obviously all things like down the road. These are like not even next year, like the year prior, the year after, and so they're down the road. But I think the fact that they're talking about it like that, I think is the progression of you know sports entertainment and the amount of stuff that we can compact into 2 nights, because then you're not so restricted on each night, and I think, you can do a lot more because, like, for me, I really feel like the women's division can get bigger matches, get longer matches. And I feel like, giving that freedom and that creativity to do more, I think is good for the business. I think, that brings a certain, I don't want to say equality, but I think like being able to let them tell stories as much as the men do. And so, I mean, that's just kind of, I guess, my take on having, 2 nights for Money in the Bank or 2 nights for a Rumble. I mean,
Yeah.
we already have 2 nights confirmed for SummerSlam next year, and so, I think it's not out of the realm of possibility to do those 2 night events, but again, they're down the road. So let's break down Raw here. Okay, so again with all this Bloodline stuff, and it's like you have Bloodline OG and you have Bloodline 2.0, and so essentially a lot of the people that Bloodline OG affected still don't like them. Like they don't even care about Bloodline 2.0. Now that we have Bloodline OG back at full strength, now it's like the rekindling of hatred for them is back, whether it's Drew McIntyre or Seth Rollins or Kevin Owens. I mean, it's like 2.0 is kind of taking a back seat right now, now that the OG is back. And so, you continue to have Sammy basically kind of, be back with, the OG bloodline, which is fine. I'm not against it. I think I don't think there's anything really for Sami Zayn to do at the current time as far as storylines, unless it's bloodline related, because I feel
Mhm.
like a lot of the storylines are like sucked into, the bloodline 1 or 2 nonsense. Um, and so, yeah, so basically this builds into basically a match with them, down the road. I know they had a match, I think it was last week. But Drew McIntyre's still kind of irritated. I mean, you can't blame him because it's like everybody that, that was anti bloodline, like the OG bloodline, all of a sudden like partners with him. And it's like you get this like, why? Right? Like you got screwed by them so many times, and yet now you're gonna tag with them, whether it was CM Punk doing it or Sammy going back to it or Cody helping Roman and all these like different things involving like the OG bloodline. You're like, why are you doing anything with them? Like, I don't blame most of wrestlers that are like, I don't care about the bloodline stuff. That's not my problem, you know, because
Agreed.
when it becomes a problem, when you interject yourself into it, then you're just susceptible to getting your ass kicked by the bloodline, whether
Yeah.
it's OG or 2.0. So, I mean, yeah, that's that's my kind of take on it. But obviously Jay comes out, to help, blah blah blah. Um, like, what do you guys really think? Like, I mean, honestly, as far as the impact of Bloodline OG versus the impact of Bloodline 2.0.
Well, I think we've all agreed that 2.0 is pretty mid in comparison. I think the conflict around the original bloodline and Roman Reigns is always going to be there because that incarnation of the bloodline really set the tone for the last like 4 years. And it's really hard to kind of just be like, you know, I forgive you for like, what you did when you was with Roman and stuff like that. People are just kind of just like, they're like, you want to go back to that, So it's kind of like for me like hit or miss, in the sense of what people are going to do. It's like, who's a bigger menace and a bigger threat? Is it Solo's bloodline or is it Roman's bloodline? Right now Roman's bloodline is just like, hey, we're all going to do our separate things. At least that's the vibe that I get. We're all going to do our separate things, but when it comes to Solo and his bloodline, it's, you know, we got we got beef, we got problems. Solo and his bloodline, they want to get to that point where they're just a collective menace. And I don't
Right.
know if they'll ever get to that. But I can say that I don't see Solo's bloodline lasting throughout 2025. I think Roman's clique will. I think that it's, because there's a lot of relationship between or among Sammy, Jay, and Jimmy. There's a lot of relationship. And I don't see them like going south with that or sour, but it's long
Well,
as Roman treats them as equals and as partners
mm,
and does not like
yeah,
go back to being like dogmatic and control, not
right.
dogmatic, but like really controlling and really dogging them. I think it'll be okay. They can be billed as the good guy, or they all just might get separated, move to different brands, and it'll just be Roman by himself after they destroyed
You know,
the second bloodline.
when one goes, both go, and
Yep.
and I think some of it too is that the Bloodline 2.0 is full blown 100% invested in being a heel. And you have the OG Bloodline that was heel, but now have gotten, I hate to say soft, but like they're more invested in the fans, like in being involved in the fans and having the fans like them and doing things the fans like, because obviously Jay moving by himself was the best thing for his career.
Right. Right.
and
Totally agree.
and and so he was full blown face, right? I mean, there was no negative back, right? And obviously Sammy really is, I don't think really Sammy's ever been a full blown heel. So I mean he probably has, but like as of
He has, but not. He hasn't been a heel for very long.
yeah.
Mm,
And so, so you have Sammy that's like that. Roman, I think Roman is starting to acknowledge his amount of impact, you know, in, sports entertainment, especially, like in WWE and stuff like that. And so I think it's starting to like be a little bit softer OG bloodline versus more of a heel bloodline 2.0. But like you said, I mean, pending on what we get on January 6th with Roman versus Solo, that's going to be the catalyst for where the story goes. And
mhm.
whether that's Bloodline OG falling and dissipating, or if Solo loses to Roman, that's the dismantling of the Bloodline 2.0. Because we all know, anybody with half a brain cell and access to YouTube, like I said last week, Jacob Fatu does not need a damn person in his corner.
Yeah.
And so he will
No.
do just fine. God will go back to being God. Solo, I don't know where he'll fall. I really don't. Because I feel like he doesn't have a strong enough character independently of the bloodline to like have an impact. Not saying he can't,
I could see him
but
going
like,
back to freaking NXT.
Mm,
I mean, and maybe that'd be good for him. I mean, and maybe this was his dry run of being by himself or running a faction or getting mic skills. And but again, we also have The Rock in the background of all of this.
right.
We don't know if he is the marionette of the puppets of Bloodline 2.0. So again, January 6th will tell us what's going to happen moving
Right.
forward. So back to Raw. Um, so we have basically another one of the triple threat like first round type of matches for the women's IC title tournament. Io Sky defeats Natalia Alba Fire. Um, I honestly, I think, like I think we said before, is like I think Io Sky is getting pushed, and I don't think she really needs damage control as much as damage control needs her. but I think they're gonna be there. They're gonna be there to celebrate her, whatever she does moving forward. I think she's a star. I think, Kairi Sane and Dakota Kai are kind of good background.
Yep.
Not that they play second fiddle, but like
It's
Io Sky
just
is the star.
yeah, it's just their role right now collectively, but Io Sky is definitely getting another push. She's been solid over the last year. So yeah, I think this is how it goes.
I think she's the one that's been actually holding damage control on top for
Mhm.
their
Yeah,
faction. She's the only one that's actually been doing something with the faction.
Yeah,
yeah,
you're right, Tim.
well, and it's because the weird thing is Asuka was part of damage control, but Asuka never needed damage
How,
control.
how long is she
Yeah.
out for?
It's
I can't
Shoot,
remember.
I'm not 100%
maybe
on that, but like,
maybe next year, sometime next year.
I'm gonna
I
yeah,
look it up.
yeah, I just it's really tough because the whole Kabuki Warriors thing and all that, and after all the injuries got plagued, obviously the plans changed, and now that we're in the basically we're down to the I think we have the four um finalists for the tournament. I believe. I just want to check me on that, but and so I think being that we're in this new era of women's secondary championships, I think this is the moment that Io Sky separates herself from the I hate to say like the just the lull or boringness of damage control. Um but you know, it's a wait and see game, and that's kind of how it goes. I mean, yeah. So here's a pointless match. I don't even care to really even touch on it. Ooh, Chad Gable. Chad Gable beats Akira Tozawa. Who hasn't beat Akira Tozawa? Like, and I think the
Gotta
thing
be
is like
somebody who has beaten them.
he's a great under 200-pound wrestler. He's not a great wrestling over 220-pound wrestler.
Okay.
I mean, but that's like a lot of people. You got an update on Oscar, Tim?
yeah, they said what I'm reading. It says they thought she could be back before the Royal Rumble of February 1st, but they said it's most safety to say she'd probably be back during the road to WrestleMania 41. Should be back soon.
Well,
It
Yeah.
doesn't give me a date, but they said most likely sometime after Royal Rumble, leading towards WrestleMania.
I think the WWE cookbook always overplays the return date.
Mhm.
Pretty much.
I think they will oversell an injury just so the impact of them coming back is more of a surprise. They've
Yeah,
done it
but
with. I mean, they did it with
yeah.
John Cena when he came back. They've done it with Edge. They've done it with so many wrestlers. They did it with Cody. I mean, and so I think she will be in the last four wrestlers in the Royal Rumble coming back. That's what I think.
I'm gonna say she might how they're saying it. She might not be there at the Royal Rumble, but leading towards
That
WrestleMania
that's
41.
that's
I'm
just
still
it.
thinking she might have a little bit into the Rumble.
Oh,
Who
and well,
knows?
and it, like I said, they're gonna totally over guesstimate her time just because they know she'll be back.
Well,
And so, and
definitely.
then because obviously everything they tell us, these hospital visits and all these, obviously some of the surgeries obviously are legit, but like return dates, I feel like they always overplay their hand just so when they come back, it's like, oh my gosh, she's back a month early, like so. So okay, so we have Damian Priest defeating Dominic Mysterio again. Like this match is dumb. I'm sorry. The one take of the whole thing is the fact that the War Raiders came out to basically have Damian Priest's back, and basically after the match and everything, the backstage segment basically like War Raiders and Damian basically like hashing anything that was, and basically being like, hey, we're good, bro, we're good. And so I loved that segment just because Damian doesn't really have too many friends when it comes to battling
Yeah.
Judgment Day. So,
Yeah.
you have to combat the numbers game to a certain extent. So, and obviously Damian can take out 3 of the 5 or 3 of the, 2 of the 4, 3 of the 5, whatever, however many people they got in that stinking group now. But like, eventually the numbers game always play catch up. And obviously, being that the War Raiders basically, owed, they owed Damian and now they're even because, man, it was so nice to see freaking Judgment Day lose those titles. I I am beyond ecstatic. One, because I love the War Raiders and the comeback story of Eric coming back and everything, and and I just hate Judgment Day. So I feel like the Judgment Day is gonna be like lurking around like cockroaches for a foreseeable long distance. Now the impact they have or the severity of their impact, I feel like is going to be a non-factor. Like we've said before a million times over, Finn Balor does not need Judgment Day. He's the
No, we
only
don't.
one that could. He's the only one in that whole group that could walk away and be just fine.
Yeah. 100%.
I
Yep.
mean, I think that's about the realest statement you can get because what is JD McDonough? Nothing. Carlito came back biting apples and basically being a lackey, whether it was LWO or Judgment Day. So he's just a lackey. I mean, Raquel Rodriguez, she needs to turn already because, like, she's too good for that group. She's too strong for that group. She's too dominant for that group. Like, she's legitimately, I would parallel her more with Rhea Ripley than anybody else. You have the strength factor, you have the dominance factor, but
Yeah, that makes sense.
She's the only thing that makes Liv Morgan relevant right now. Like, because I mean, I hope to the wrestling gods that Liv loses to Rhea. Like,
Yeah, I think I'm over this type of conflict with those two. And if Rhea doesn't do it, let Rhea and Raquel have their matches and their feud, or whomever interferes, like let them get next. I think I'm thinking with you with like this part of the story. Either put it on Rhea or move on from Rhea. Let Rhea have some other conflicts. Let Rhea start another journey to like getting to a championship. But yeah, we've got to move on from Liv and Rhea. I mean, it's
just
served
dried
its
up.
yeah, it served its purpose. So yeah,
and
I'm
that's the thing
totally
is
over
that
it.
I think
They might end it soon.
I mean, and Judgment Day will be fine without championships. I mean, other factions have survived without championships. I mean, it's not out of the realm for them to still be relevant. It's
Right.
just that I don't want them shoved down my throat half the night of watching Raw.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't I'm like, and I've said this before, is like, because obviously I watch NXT and everything else, so like I would fancy myself more of the NXT specialist on the show. And so
Facts.
like I want like more to get like in motion for new talent to come up. Because right now we're honestly, we are so reliant right at this moment with Judgment Day, Final Testament, and the Bloodlines. And if we didn't have those, where would the show be, right? I mean, because
Mm-hmm.
everything is surrounded with them. So like when those dissipate, what is left? And so there's a lot of people on NXT right now that I'm like, I'm ready for them. Are they ready? Probably not. I mean, I still think there's a giant amount of learning curve going from, doing your Tuesday night shows versus multiple shows on the road throughout the week things like
Right.
that. Like, it's more rigorous, being on the main roster, but like, from a talent perspective, I think there's at least a handful, that can get, to come up. But obviously we're still investing right now with with Bronson. Yeah, there's so many dang Bronze with Braun Breaker.
Yep.
We still have Carmelo Hayes. I mean, Ilya Dragunov is injured, so he's not in there, and so you have quite a bit of people that we still are investing in. And honestly, Braun Breaker, I'm good where he's at. Like, I think his character, his mic skills, his talent. I mean, I think he's arrived. Like, and so like I don't think he's having as much as a learning curve as some of the rest, right? I think
Right.
obviously it's in his freaking DNA and in his pedigree, no pun intended. And
Yeah,
so like
you're right.
it's, I think growing up around it and coming up to the ranks naturally is different. And so, I think he's good. I'm still lobbying for Carmelo Hayes because like I'm a Carmelo Hayes guy. I see him as, not only the future but the now. I think what he has going on for him by himself is better than Grayson Waller and Austin Theories combined. It's their gimmicks, and Carmelo Hayes is no gimmick, right? I mean,
Right.
he's pushing the envelope with stars well beyond his, years, and he's getting in these matches and he's learning and he's digesting and he's learning a lot more at a faster pace. And I love it because I feel like the more experience you can get in the beginning, the better off your future will be, right?
Right.
Agree.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did order another Carmelo Hayes shirt. So
Nice.
and you know what? The stupid John Cena one that I bought a while back, that like got stolen or something, and so like I ordered another one. Like they refunded me for it, but like I ordered another John Cena one, like the last time is now shirt or whatever, the red one. It
Okay.
better come. It better come and I get
Yeah.
stolen again. 'Cause I ordered the new Carmelo Hayes shirt that he was actually wearing on Raw, and so yeah. Anywho. Oh yeah. So we continue to basically have these back and forth interviews, whether it's them interviewing CM Punk or Seth Rollins. We obviously get another stuff with, interview with Seth Rollins, more or less. I mean, they're both kind of going tit for tat. I mean, I think Seth has a lot of valid points. I think CM Punk has some valid points. And I love that they're like, this kind of started maybe maybe a month ago. I mean, obviously it
Mhm.
started way back at like Survivor Series last year when he returned. But like I love that they're rekindling this and kind of like CM Punk did his thing with Drew McIntyre, and now, guess what, CM Punk, you still got more bumps in the road. You still got more, more barriers to go through.
Right.
And and again, I think Seth Rollins, I think there's actually like legit disdain. Like I don't think like I really with
Yeah.
my heart of hearts really, because if you've seen any of like the interviews with Seth on like other podcasts and stuff, and he's just like he like legit has disdain for CM Punk. Like it's and maybe he's just a really good actor, but like for me I feel like it's like legit. Like I don't know if
Yeah.
you've seen any of those, but like I really think Seth Rollins just does not like CM Punk.
I won't say that I don't blame him, but I will say that I agree the energy is rooted in real experiences outside of professional wrestling, so no kayfabe. Yeah. So yeah. Let it go. Let them go. Let them do their thing. Let them work it
Right.
out in the ring in front of us.
Right.
You know, I just don't want it to. I don't want it to, it turn into like a shoot match,
Right.
like where they're actually like laying into each other.
Right.
Every shot is a receipt. I don't want to see that.
No
But at
Brock
the
Lesnar cracking Randy Orton's skull.
yeah. But I do. If once this is over with, and they have their thing, I would like for them to move on. But also too, it probably won't happen. I think they'll probably run a very similar program, Seth Rollins and CM Punk, in comparison to what Drew McIntyre and CM Punk
Yeah.
did in 2024. So
Yeah.
buckle up.
Well, and it's in this,
Buckle up, buttercups.
and there's starting to be like this parallel, with the hatred factor for CM Punk and towards Cody Rhodes and basically anybody that like has joined forces with Bloodline in any capacity. It basically is viewed as like mutiny, and so like it's they're starting to develop a line of people basically ready to just join forces to basically combat the Bloodline stuff. But yeah, so Dexter Lumis basically gets his first match, I guess, essentially his first singles match in a couple of years. Obviously he's had matches with the Wyatt Six, but obviously this is kind of and I think this is the time when like the faction starts being able to like be individuals, but yet still part of the faction. And I think that's good for the Wyatt Six, just because it doesn't make them a sideshow, as in like they're just kind of here and there. And
Right.
obviously, like I'm all for them being being there on a week to week basis, but I'm also not against them making him something special week in and week out. But obviously, we have this stuff with Final Testament and The Miz, so like I feel like this is a great story. And I'm all for it, whether it's week to week or every couple weeks or whatever, because I'm okay with a not over the top feud, right? Like I'm okay with letting this thing kind of drag out and have some confrontations, but not be overly taking over the whole TV.
Yeah.
So we have Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods come out, and apparently Kofi Kingston's mom is ringside. Great story. And even she's like, nah.
Yeah, fuck you. Fuck
She
you,
just
son.
leaves.
You have messed up when your mom rejects you on national television. That
Oh my
you
gosh!
have
And
like
if you've seen the clip too, where even Dominic Mysterio was like, he's like, I don't like Big E, but damn, and he just walks away.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
but,
I like when they
really
said some shit about Dominic when he walks away about saying he looked like somebody.
oh
He's
my
like,
God.
yeah, I'm better looking.
yeah.
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 So the night ends with Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn going at it. I'm perfectly okay with Drew McIntyre beating everybody for the next year. I
Yeah.
I love Drew McIntyre. I just it's what's not to love about a pissed off Scottish guy, okay? Like,
A lot.
Your only reason why is because he went up against CM Punk, and that's the reason why you feel that way. But if it was anyone else, you would be in agreement with us that an angry Drew McIntyre is good for business.
it is good for business.
It is because
Because
think,
like I said, we're starting to develop groups of people that have this mutual disdain for other people. So
He just needs to
Put
come
him in a
out with
group.
that air guitar again.
oh goodness. Well, I think he replaced the air guitar with a sword. So
bring back 3MB.
you know what? 2 of those guys would have to get re-signed.
Yeah.
That's
Uh,
weird saying.
There's Heath
But
Slater and Jinder Mahal.
yep,
Yep.
that's weird.
I
But
have kids.
yep.
So
So what?
we'll move over to SmackDown. So we obviously, since Jade's out, Naomi's basically proverbially stepped in as Bianca's tag team partner, and I have so many unanswered like things about how Naomi just kind of gradually stepped in.
I still think she's the one that did it to Jade.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
I
I
feel
think
I
There's
feel like
something there.
I feel like honestly I would say there's only 3 possibilities of the person that took out Jade Cargill. That's Naomi, Charlotte Flair, and Bayley. Now Bayley's the good, like I would say Bayley's the long shot, but it's Naomi or
yeah,
Charlotte.
yeah.
Like, and if it's
I
anybody
would
else,
say I wouldn't say Naomi, but I definitely would say Bianca or Charlotte. I think Bailey and Naomi are just kind of just would be like they're definitely riding the babyface vibe right now, and I don't think that they would turn heel like that. But also, I mean, if there's a bigger story for them, well, but I think Charlotte Flair or Bianca, and it could go, in my opinion, it could go either way, and I would be surprised if it was anyone other than those two. I would be like,
um,
that don't make no
I
damn sense,
mean,
you know.
but do you remember how much Bailey was riding the whole hugger thing, and then came out with like a freaking switchblade and like killed all the Bailey buddies? I mean,
I mean, but
it
that it didn't happen like overnight. We saw
right,
like the gradual heel turn.
right,
So with Bianca, if it is Bianca who took out Jade, um, there's this rationale behind it. You know what
right.
I'm saying? Tired of carrying you. You know what? My career is stagnant. There would be people would be like, yeah, they hyped her up, but she ain't lived up to it. And they'd be like, yeah, that's right, get rid of her, blah, blah, blah. That
So
that
all the
animosity
things
would
I've
be
been,
it would be rational,
yeah,
that animosity. But with Charlotte, there is Charlotte feels slighted. And that's the vibe that I would get from her. Like, you didn't acknowledge me. And before I had the opportunity to check you on it, I got hurt. And
right.
now that I've been secretly cleared for training or whatever have you, first, I'm going to let you know that I'm the queen, even though you can be whomever you
Right.
think you are.
Yeah.
So either way, those two logically for me make the most sense. And if I were to go with other internet rumors and speculations, I'm edging out Charlotte 51% to 49% Bianca. And
And I think it really does, because if you've seen any other tag teams in the existence of WWE, there gets to a certain point where they're just like, and yeah, I mean, so then I guess if you want to narrow it down to Bianca or Charlotte, I mean, I would say 50-50. I mean, because either A, you didn't acknowledge me because I'm like, she's literally the greatest women wrestler of all time, and she's got the stats to prove it. And then you have Jade coming here who's had all this high expectations and all this stuff. And the first time she meets Charlotte Flair, she kind of like shrugs her off. And I'm like, and then Charlotte Flair gets hurt, and then all of a sudden Jade comes in like thinking she's gonna be the bona fide stud. And sorry, she's garbage. Like she's stiffer than a 2x4 in a wood factory. So I don't buy it. Like Jade came in with so much pizzazz and expectation, and she hasn't met it. And then when somehow they all of a sudden, like, she just became any other wrestler. She's got a cool entrance. That's about
yeah,
it.
and I understand that, and I'm not mad that it has taken so long for Jade to grow as a performer, because I think week after week she does try, and it's not it's not as contrite as other hand-picked performers who've been brought in and given the opportunity, and they've kind of just been like mediocre. I believe that Jade really tries, and if the internet rumors and dirt sheets and all those other things are correct, that she has been dealing with a long-term injury, and that is could be a reason why she has been stagnant, then I would hope that we all could have a little bit of grace upon that, being like, all right, well, she had this injury and that kept her from growing. Now that she's recovered, let's give her a little time to see how she's accelerated, because she is an athlete. Let's not
Oh
get it
yeah, no,
twisted.
100%.
You
I'm
know,
not denying
and
that she's an athlete. I think they overhyped her, and her hype level was up here, but how she actually came in was here. And so like what the problem is with high expectations and under delivering, it's not the wrestler's fault that someone hyped them up so much, right?
right.
And
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 yeah.
and I think Jade has to be on her own. Like I think when she comes back, let's see, whoever done did it is gonna
Mhm.
get their comeuppance, and I think maybe this is the time when Jade's character gets a whole remodel, and she's not this nice, jolly old saint. Like she's gonna come in full bitch mode, and
Yep.
and and I think that makes more sense for her independently, because as most of her most of her wrestling WWE career has been relying on someone else, and I think it's time for her to, to bet on herself, and I think to let WWE let her bet on herself and
Yeah.
see what
And
happens, and if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work, but you
yeah,
you have to try.
I would definitely try that, but I would also pair her with seasoned talent that she can learn
Right.
from on the job in the ring, and have it being reinforced. Like you always hear about the house shows that WWE does, that they like run through the matches that they're going to do like the next week or the next time there's a television taping. I would definitely like start doing that when she is able to come back, if she's able to come back, because as we all know, or that we've heard like the rumors that it's a very serious injury, but no one is talking about it and they go back and forth. I think either,
One.
the outcome is going to be, yes, it was a really bad injury. um we don't know if she's going to come back, but if she does, we're going to run this way with her. No, it wasn't a really bad injury, we're probably going to let her go, and we took her off TV so we could let her go. Or three, it was it's all storyline and she's just working on her craft, and when she comes back, we're going to get this opportunity. So it's one of the three things.
Right.
I'm hoping they don't let her go. I'm hoping that they reinvest in her. And I agree with you. Yeah, the hype was really here when they let her loose. It was not where they wanted it, and I think I can agree now more with the sentiment that you had, Seth, of she should have gone to NXT, stayed a little bit in NXT, and then come up and then maybe get the pairing. But they've hyped it up and they've did it the way
Well,
they did it,
and
and
and the
now they've
thing
got
is,
They
to
did
kind
it.
of
They
stay
did it
face.
sloppy.
well, and
Yeah, if
every
you
other
think
person
about it.
that's come back from AEW, with the exception of like Cody, has gone through NXT. I mean,
But some of them,
Sean Spears is in NXT, doing what he's doing. You have all ego Ethan Page down there, doing his own thing. And so like I think it is important that WWE does not like set such high expectations, because when you go from brand to brand, because like AW is like there's no filter, there's no real game plan, there's just kind of whatever, and it's just nonsense and chaos. WWE is structured, and you have to come through NXT to basically hone how that's done, right? And some of them have gone through NXT faster than others, and some of them have run their 2-3 years or whatever, You know, I mean, you look at Tiffany Stratton, how polished she is right now. She came to NXT. Carmelo Hayes. You know, I mean, you have a plethora of wrestlers on the current roster that ran their course through NXT to hone the perfection you see now.
Yep, that's
You
pretty
know,
much how they have to do it. Start out in NXT and see how WWE is actually ran and how it's supposed to go is
I think a
through
lot of
NXT.
people, I think it is a case by case basis. I
Pretty
think that
much.
a lot of people that are in NXT right now may not get the same opportunities. Apparently, she has everything but the in-ring work, and they felt that they could give her the in-ring work training while she was on the main roster because she has so much following, so much hype, so much, you know, and unfortunately, it just hasn't panned out. But in the overarching story that is Jade Cargill right now, I am betting on Charlotte Flair number one, Bianca number two as the people that did this. And if and when she does return, I think that'll be like her first like real singles in ring challenges. And again, I Charlotte by like 2 percentage points of who I would guess did it. But at this particular point, anyone other than those two, I would be completely surprised. Like that doesn't make any sense in the story. So I would like to see Charlotte returning, especially
Same
on
here.
January 6th. And maybe we get some hints at what is going on with Jade, just to keep it fresh in our minds and keep us like looking for it. Other than that, it's kind of like, what do we do? It's like, you know,
the thing about NXT that separates it obviously from being, you know, main roster, you know, level is the fact that like it's okay for them to have like minute stories because it's just honing the wrestling craft of it, and then you will learn the storyline and the mic skills as you go. And so they could call up 5 new NXT stars on the draft, you know, next year, and NXT would still be fine.
yeah.
See, because like NXT essentially like it's a 2-hour show, but it's really, you know, an hour and 15 of actual anything, right? If you factor in commercials and whatnot. And so like there NXT will always be fine because there's always new come ups, right? And so like
Mhm.
in them releasing them to the main roster, I mean, like, you know, like Roxanne Perez, for example, right? Like, I mean, she's done whatever she has to have done in NXT. Like her getting called up wouldn't be a far fetched thing. You have Julia, Stephanie Becker, and Zarya that are basically from other companies that have kind of just assimilated into NXT. Like they'd be a decent call up. You have I don't buy into her yet, but I mean you have Gallus, which is a 3-person tag team. I could buy into them being main roster, and this is via What Culture. But like Ethan Page, I would have zero problem him coming up. I think he ran his
Mhm.
course in NXT. I think there's still some stuff left for him to do in NXT, given what happened with Jamon Evans last week, when basically him
Yeah.
kind of coming out and being authentic, and he basically puts a chair and like kayfabe, you know, blood everywhere, you know. But like, you know, Trick Williams, I think he still needs another year in NXT. I think there needs to be room for his stardom, and I think
Yeah.
like that's the kicker of it all is that like they're ready, but it doesn't mean the main roster's ready. You know,
Mhm.
because I feel like the like WWE will not shine its brightest until we're done with Bloodline and Judgment Day. We're done with
So
those
I
two.
think, yeah. So Judgment Day will go away eventually. Bloodline probably won't go away, but it might start to play a secondary role. Um,
That's a maybe because you got the Rock in the company who is gonna kind of let's keep the bloodline going. Let's keep
I
shoving
mean,
it down these
but
fans'
I
throats.
mean, there's only so much pull that he has. So you
I mean,
know,
but he's the head. He's
as
the head
long
of
as it's
TKO
good
though.
for business, I think as long as it's good for business and it makes sense, I think we'll see something. But Bloodline does not need to be every
No,
week. It's
no.
no, not I could go every other week. I could go every 2 weeks. There could even be seasons for Bloodline, WrestleMania
Well,
season to SummerSlam season or to Survivor Series season. Give me all
we
the
need
Bloodline and everything else can go away.
we just it just it has to like decrease or go away. Like,
Hmm.
and I think yes with the Rock being, but like the Rock is the head of the board on TKO, so like he has more pull. But it's like my thing is, and I think we've talked about this numerous times, is like I don't want the Rock to interject himself and
Hmm.
take away time from the rest of the roster, because you know what? If you want to be a great like manager of the business and you want to be in gorilla position and do you and Triple H, you guys do make these great stories, do all that, but like you have to let the new talent shine. You cannot, in like, if you want to be a nostalgia, yeah, we'll bring it back at Crown Jewel, like we do with Goldberg, right? Like you can be a
Right.
Goldberg. You can come to a couple Saudi shows and that's all we need of you. But I don't want him to be on every week or even once a month. I don't see him as something relevant moving forward. I mean, he's a nostalgic act. Yes, he's still talented. Yes, he's The Rock, blah blah blah. But the problem is we're not in 2010. Okay? We're not in 2000, 2010. Like we don't want to go back to when you were relevant. Like we've invested in this new product for 2 decades since you've been gone, and we're investing in what we have now. And to go backwards, I feel like yes, it's cool because he's The Rock, and it's nostalgia, blah blah blah. Maybe next year we need a Rock retirement year, and he can do his thing for a year and then be gone and float to the back. You
Mhm.
know, but I don't need more Rock. I
No,
don't. I don't want The Rock around. I want your knowledge and your perception of the business. I'm all for that. We see Triple H a couple times a year. Like I can deal with that amount of visibility of The Rock. I just yeah. I mean, ugh.
it
Yeah,
gets annoying. It gets annoying with the Rock in it.
you know what? I don't mind seeing The Rock on TV, but having a consistent reasoning and story for him to be on TV means a lot. And that adds to me not minding because there is a visible and visible draw with The Rock. And like I said, I don't mind, but I also find validity in the opinion of we don't need you. Yeah, I mean,
It's and that's the thing is like we want the nostalgia. It's like when you go to a let's say you go to REO Speedwagon and you want the nostalgic songs, and all of a sudden they play something new and you're like, no, I only like the nostalgia. I only like the old songs.
mhm,
And so like I don't mind him being around. I don't mind him interjecting in certain things in regards to Bloodline because that's the only storyline that is relevant for him.
right.
But like we have a full 70 people roster and you're going to sit there and interject and take time away from them. I mean
You know,
because
With
yeah,
his
like I
final boss.
no
yeah,
one cares.
I I guess if it was anyone else, I would probably have if it was anyone else outside of John Cena and The Rock, Sting included, I would say you're right. Let's not, but because it is Sting, I mean, sorry, it is The Rock or John Cena, I would say, yeah, let them let them do their thing because we've waited this long for them to wrap it up so we can like really invest in these newer performers and characters. What's a few more months? You know what I'm saying? Unless pro wrestling imploded as an industry in whole, you know what I'm saying? Everybody just went bankrupt and it's all gone. Then I would be like, oh man, what could have been
We
with
need
like,
we well, yeah, it's
yeah.
and we can
So
only nostalgia
yeah,
only lasts for so long, and you only like nostalgia for so long. And
yeah.
and that's the thing is like he's a money draw once in a while. I mean, you could put him on Roman Reigns' schedule for the last 4 years, last 2 years of his reign. You can give me that, and I'd be like, okay, I'm fine with that. Because that's what Roman did. And the funny thing about Roman is that like he called his shot, years before he lost it and everything else. And he's like, the day that I leave, you'll want me back. And it really like it's just it's honestly mind blowing because you're just like we hated Roman, we hated the bloodline, we hated all this stuff, stupid bloodline interfering, blah blah, and then now fast forward like now we love him.
Mhm.
I love the bloodline OG period. Like it's just funny how that works.
Pretty
Yeah,
much.
and I think it's just the psychology of it. And I am again, I'm not mad about The Rock, interjecting because it does add a layer of complexity and a layer of intrigue into the story. So I'm not mad about that. But do I see validity in your position of his involvement takes away potentially from others being able to grow and have an opportunity to rise to his level? Yeah, and maybe rising to The Rock's level is, really like,
That's a high bar.
far reaching. Yeah, that's a high bar and it's far reaching.
Oh, it is
But
very
but
high.
but I understand. It's like, you know what? Do we need The Rock this week? No. Could we get a couple of other people that, should be in this, like an R Truth or like a Carmelo Hayes or an Andrade? Yeah, that might be
Right.
refreshing, but I also know that it's The Rock and he is a nostalgia act and he is financially good for business and he has the time and we
Yeah.
don't
I
have to
mean
pay him his full rate today. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, it's like, it's
it's
like
got
what do you,
pros. It has pros and cons. It has
yeah,
pros and cons. Like
but
it, it
but I
it's
I agree. I agree with you. But I also understand like what are they going to chase? They're not going to chase, our three opinions of like we really don't need The Rock, so can we get a little bit
Do
more of
we
this?
really want to smell what the Rock is cooking?
Yeah,
No.
so can we get something else? And they'll be like, no, this is what we're serving. If you like it, you'll eat it.
right. I mean, it's well,
You
and
know,
like, and the thing is like when it comes down to it, is that it's okay if it's sparingly. It's
yeah,
okay if it's here and there. That's fine. I
yeah,
just like my whole thing is just I don't want it to overshadow other stories. That's all it is. Like I don't care if you're there. I don't care if you show up once in a while and do your final boss thing. Like, and that's fine. I don't want his presence to be up here, and then while other stories are down here trying to develop, you're just pressing them down. And I
yeah.
just
But
and so
I guess I don't look at it as being as extreme as that, but I I do understand that those minutes, those times that The Rock is on TV is potentially taking away from someone else. Like I don't think The Rock is saying like, "Hey, we're gonna bump Carmelo Hayes because I'm The Rock and he's Carmelo Hayes." I think it's more like, "Hey, you know what? This is a part of the business where this dude is gonna get us more ad revenue dollars where you've already earned your ad revenue dollars." You know what I'm
Yeah, I
saying,
mean
Carmelo?
it's
So
good for current. I mean it's good from a financial standpoint. I'm not going to
right,
dispute that because we all know
right,
he's a money draw. He's one of the most popular actors in Hollywood. I mean, I do not take away from his success or his money draw or the things he's done. I just, man, it's and like you said, if it's a couple minutes here and there, it's whatever. You know what? Do what you do. I don't
right.
care. Just
Yeah,
Totally agree.
yeah, but
just don't take anybody else's place.
right. And I don't think
I don't think it will be. I don't think
yeah,
I don't think it's going to. I'm just thinking, from a broader perspective, is just
maybe this
and I
maybe
think
yeah, maybe
so.
this is like maybe another way that you could think about it or anyone else could think about it. It's like the sooner we get through with The Rock, the sooner we can get to 100% investing more so in these other characters that The Rock and his presence and the bloodlines necessity to be on TV,
Yeah, I mean,
um, you know,
he's story worthy
goes
now
away.
because of Bloodline, and like if the faster we get through the Bloodline, the faster we get with dealing with Rock, and and I don't give the whole thing more than 6 months, right? I really
Mhm.
feel like if we're gonna get through this whole Rock being involved thing, let it ride, and for all intents and purposes, I say when he loses to Roman, let's say WrestleMania, whether it's this year or next year, like once he loses, he just goes away, and you can come back here and there, that's fine. But I
Oh
think
hell no.
run its course. You can run your farewell tour. That's fine because your relevancy only falls along in current storylines because of Bloodline. So I say let it ride, get it over with.
Let it ride into the sunset.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean it's not the
That's pretty much what they need to do is just let him ride off in the sunset. Let him do some few things here and there, get a little bit more spotlight on the product, stupid crap like that, whatever. He just needs to just stay in the back, stick with his movies, TV shows, whatever the hell he's doing. His energy drinks, whatever that
those are
tastes like
terrible.
Yeah.
crap,
They're
tastes like
terrible.
ass.
But yeah, I mean, obviously we're gonna do the live thing for Raw. So I mean, we will. So I mean, we're gonna record next week Sunday. Obviously, I mean, maybe we don't have to. Maybe we could just do a pre-record before. I don't know, depending on what time everybody gets out of work. But
Mm.
we'll talk about that after. But yeah, I mean, so we'll put a pin in this whole nonsense with The Rock, and we'll deal with it as it comes. Um, Wishing you guys all a happy New Year. Um, so as of today, so we'll have this is episode 23 of season 2, so we have 3 more episodes of this season. So I think that's great because man, I didn't think I'd be this far along. So I mean, and like at the beginning was tough because like I had a couple episodes I had to record by myself, right? And so like if you really think about it, like you recording yourself for a half an hour, like it's daunting, all right? Like I'm glad that like we've gotten through it, right? Like
Right.
and now we're good. We're 90% full strength most weeks. So I mean, I'm good with it. So
Just sitting there talking to yourself. You don't even know half the damn time what you want to say.
Yeah.
Just you got us here. You feed off of us.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is, it's like, I mean, like Tim, you're very like quiet most times. Obviously, you do chime in, and then it's like when it's.
I
and then,
try. I
like,
try.
Yes, you do.
I'm just
You
the pretty
know-
face over here.
Yes.
He's
So silly.
he's the beard. I'm the weird. All right. So
Oh my God.
and then there's Frederick.
Yeah.
That one guy over there.
Yep, that one guy over there.
The guy over there with the looking like Santa Claus in preseason.
Oh, God. Thank you very much.
And then I have nothing. So that's it's like 3 stages of our beard growth.
You got Seth, then
Yep.
Frederick, then me.
So now here now here it is. Okay. This is before, this is during, and after. It's like a beard treatment plan. You're like, hey, if you do this, you can start here, get here, and then you can look like a Viking. So, anyways. See, this is the rabbit trails of this stinking podcast. But so we'll see you guys next week. Hope you guys have a whole lot of fun on New Year's Eve. Don't get too drunk. Call Ubers. Don't be idiots. Better safe than sorry. So
Yep.
this is the
Better luck
Lockdown
this-
Podcast. Peace.